Well, hello everybody.
Hello.
This is Empowering Democracy, and it's another Dump the Corruption show. And I'm joined by Dee Piers, the host of the Around the World with Dee and Friends show. And we just finished a very interesting show of hers. And we're going to start this one up in earnest fairly shortly. But I have a story to tell in this one. As soon as Stephen Wolfbrand joins us, I don't know if he is going to join us, but
He
uh,
always joins us. He may be taking a little break and getting himself together before
right,
coming in.
right. So sometime during this broadcast, uh, we're going to tell the story of what I was doing in Thailand in 1969. So we're going to deal with five of the Freedom Caucus members today and their fundraising. Uh, their fundraising, of course, is very interesting in the context that they are part of the group that is engaging in the debt ceiling blackmail being propounded by the Republican Party. Uh, we should, however, be very careful to point out that the only reason why the debt ceiling fight, why the blackmail by the Republicans seems to be being successful, is because the administration is refusing to take at least three different measures that it can take to end the debt ceiling crisis. I won't go into those here, but I will go back to telling you which members of the Freedom Caucus, those congressional bad boys, uh, we'll be covering tonight in terms of giving them our litmus test. One is Bob Good, who, of course, is anything but good, from the Virginia 5th, and Randy Weber from the Texas 14th, and also Josh Brecheen. Once there was a baseball pitcher by the name of Harry Brecheen. As I recall, he was quite a relief pitcher back in the day. Uh, okay, anyway, Brecheen is from the Oklahoma 2nd. And then there's Clay Higgins from the Louisiana 3rd. By the way, Clay Higgins is quite a character. He got into an altercation with a kid who he was pushing around just a couple of days ago at the Medicare for All festivities in front of the Capitol. Uh, he almost got himself charged with assault on this kid. Uh, anyway, Debbie Lesko is the fifth. Lesko is the fifth of the people we're going to cover, and she is from the Arizona 8th. So let's get started. You'll remind me, when Stephen Wolfbrand shows up.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd appreciate that. So,
Yeah, Kay's here, so it's nice that Kay's here.
hello, Kay.
Okay, it's reminding me to put it up on the screen.
Yes, I'm about to do that. Taken me a little
Okay.
while because I didn't have it actually prepared tonight, so I'm having to pull them up basically one by one. But I am
Okay.
here for now, and I've got Bob Good ready to present.
Okay.
And here we are. He's in there now, isn't he?
Yes, I see it. I'm going to put my mute on so you don't hear the dogs and noise here.
Okay. So we have the summary data for Bob Good. He was the incumbent in the 2022 race. He was the winner. He raised $1.1 million. Well, I should give the full amount. $1,149,484. He spent $1,185,000. Excuse me. $1,185,462. Ended with cash on hand of $14,358. So he was far from the most well-funded of the Freedom Caucus people, but he probably won because he's probably in a very red district. He was opposed by Josh Thronberg, who raised $876,655 and spent $858,555 and ended with cash on hand of $18,100. Outside spending. Bob Good was supported by $31,967 in outside spending and opposed by $5,804 in outside spending. Josh Thronberg was supported by only $1,085 and was opposed by $0. Another Democrat by the name of Cameron Webb was supported by $8 in outside spending. That, of course, was in the primary. So let's go to the key tab here, which is the candidates tab. That will give us more important information. For example, Bob Good won the race with 57.7% of the vote. And his opposition, Josh Thronberg, got 42.3% of the vote. So it wasn't that close a race, but on the other hand, it was closer than a lot of the other races for Congress were. Bob Good got small individual contributions of 137,567. It was 11.97% of what he raised. He got large individual contributions of 705,225. Those were contributions greater than $200. That was 61.35% of what he raised. There were also PAC contributions of $131,650, 11.45% of what he raised. The large individual contributions and the PAC contributions immediately disqualify him from the standpoint of the litmus test. He fails the litmus test on those grounds. There was also some candidate self-financing of $3,000, hardly worth talking about. But he raised other monies of $172,042, and those are not really broken out. Don't know why, but that was 15% of what he raised. Not in the category of small individual contributions or large individual contributions or PAC contributions, so you have to wonder what they actually were. Josh Thronberg got small individual contributions of $179,529. That was 20% of what he raised. His large individual contributions were 69.14%, $606,084. His PAC contributions were $10,500.89. So he failed the litmus test as well, even though his PAC contributions were very small, because his large individual contributions were a very high percentage of what he raised, especially if we factor in his candidate self-financing of $82,291. He raised close to $700,000, $688,000, $689,000, somewhere in there, in large individual contributions greater than $200. So those are contributions from well-off people. So he failed the litmus test also. Both candidates failed it. So let us move on. Well, let me see if I could look at anything more interesting. Let's see if we can find out anything from sector totals. Okay, Bob Good got $210,503 from the fire sector and $180,000 from ideology single issue groups. As I said, he's a Freedom Caucus member. The other category also delivered $255,000 on behalf of Bob Good. The fire sector gave $67,000 to Thronberg, and the health sector $65,000 to Thronberg, and $203,562 from that mysterious other category. In fact, they both raised a similar amount, $203,000 for Thronberg, $255,000 for Good in that other unknown category. So let's see if we can learn a little bit more here. In Bob's Good's case, of course, the fire sector was very important. And pushing him over the top. He also got a lot of money from the retired industry, $2,818, and from Republican conservatives, $107,315, $83,685 from securities and investments. Those were the big ones in terms of industry contributions. Josh Thronberg also got a lot from the retired sector, $136,000. And that was his major area of contributions. So that tells you a little bit where their money came from. There was $91,000 from real estate for Thronberg. I'm sorry, $91,000 for Good, and $107,000 from Republican conservative groups, $83,685 from securities and investments. So I think that kind of does it as to what the story was in that particular race. So I'm going to leave that behind now and go to Randy Weber in Texas. Of course, that's one Republican. I should say one of the Freedom Caucus people already biting the dust, as we like to say here.
Yep, it seems to be a pattern. I was gonna say pattern of behavior.
Well, it's a pattern of behavior where everybody is biting the dust.
Yeah.
All the progressives, okay, all of the regular Democrats, all of the regular Republicans we've looked at, and so far all of the Freedom Caucus members, they're all biting the dust. So let me get Randy Weber's figures into the stream. So Randy Weber had a very similar pattern to Bob Good, at least in terms of total amounts raised. You remember Bob Good came in at about $1.1 million. Randy Weber came in at about $1 million, $1,027,698. He spent $1,057,210, ended with cash on hand of $442,000. Mikael Williams, okay, the Democrat, didn't give anywhere near the challenge to Randy Weber. That came from Josh Thronberg in his race with Bob Good. He raised $72,507, spent $51,643, ended with cash on hand of $21,916. Seems like he wasn't trying very hard to win this race. Outside spending by candidates, $1,192 in support of Randy Weber, and nothing in opposition to Randy Weber. So that's a pretty quiet amount of outside spending to do. Not really important. On the candidates page, we have Randy Weber with 68.6% of the vote, easily winning, and Mikael Williams, okay, maybe it's Michael Williams, not sure how he pronounces it, 31.4% of the vote. This is in the Texas 14th in 2022. Small individual contributions for Randy Weber, $27,890, only 2.71% of what he raised. Large individual contributions, $574,241, 56% of what he raised. PAC contributions, $317,024, 31% of what he raised. So we can see he fails the litmus test right there. He had 108,544, 10% of what he raised in the other category. Okay, Michael Williams had 40% small individual contributions. That was just about $29,000. And large individual contributions at $42,000, or 58% of what he raised. He got almost nothing in PAC contributions, just $250. But of course, he fails, okay, the litmus test because of the high percentage of large individual contributions that he had from well-off people. So both people bite the dust when it comes to the litmus test. Of course, that's most important in Randy Weber's case. I will try to get a picture of what the interests were who were supporting him. Okay. In the PAC area, he got 223,515 from business PACs, only 5,500 from labor PACs, and he got about 87,000 from ideological PACs, which squares with the fact that he's a Freedom Caucus member, so people with that kind of ideology would support him. Looking at sector totals and things like that, he got supported by energy and natural resources, probably oil, 77,450, construction, 64,100, fire sector, 90,000, 68,000 from transportation, 157,000 from ideology single issue groups. So pretty much there we have it. Those were the interests that closely supported him. He had no trouble winning. He won in a walk. So let us discontinue that. Right now, was I sharing that, by the way? I don't really know. Yes, I was. Okay. So,
yes, you have it up. Yes.
Yes, I had it up. So great. Okay, the next candidate is Josh Brecheen. I really have to wonder if he was any relation to Harry Brecheen, that old ball player. Such an unusual name, the kind of name one remembers. Okay, Josh Brecheen is from the Oklahoma District 2, 2nd Congressional District of Oklahoma. Summary data, another rural district. He raised only $650,595. He was the winner. This was an open seat. Okay, he was not an incumbent. First time he ran. He spent $576,756. I guess he wasn't much worried about winning. He came out of it with $73,839 that he can save for future races. He was opposed by a Democrat, Naomi Andrews. She raised $7,707 and spent $7,072. There was a little bit of outside spending. Oh my God. That's really something. Some reason this interested outside spending groups. We'll see about that. Okay, remember, Josh Brecheen in direct campaign support only raised $650,000, $651,000. But he was supported by almost $2 million. Well, $1,998,222, but opposed by $2,124,680 in outside spending. So he actually had a net loss of about, $126,000, $127,000 in outside spending. He was opposed by a guy by the name of Avery Fricks, who was another Republican who ran against him. Avery Fricks raised $1,176,002, but he was opposed by $1.5 million. So he had a net loss of about $400,000 in outside spending. So outside spending for both of these candidates who are probably running against each other, the opposition spending was greater than the spending in support of these campaigns, the outside spending in support of these campaigns. Very unusual pattern. You just don't see that anywhere. There were more Republicans in the race. There was John R. Bennett.
Oops, you're not on the screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing it. Yeah, sorry about that. Let me share. Percent share screen. Okay. Okay, so what you're seeing on your screen now is you're seeing outside spending in support of and in opposition to the various candidates.
Green screen?
What?
Oh.
Okay, a third candidate, John R. Bennett, was supported by 40,000 in outside spending and opposed by 72,500 in outside spending. So he also had a net loss in the outside spending, which this is very interesting. I've never seen a pattern like this before. Another not well-known candidate by the name of Johnny Teehee, yes, Teehee, was supported by 50,000 in outside spending, but wasn't opposed by any spending at all. So he was the fourth candidate in this race and the only one whose support exceeded his opposition in outside spending. Then there was Dustin Roberts, and he's another one whose support exceeded his opposition, 42,000 as opposed to 0. And there was another, Marty Quinn, who got 27,000 outside spending support and 0 opposition, and yet another, Chris Schiller. I mean, this is a really open race. 26,548 in outside spending and support, and 0 in opposition. So the last 4 candidates had 0 in opposition. The winning candidate was a net negative by about 125,000. The question is, why all the outside spending in this race? It's kind of unusual. Okay, the Democratic candidate, specifically Naomi Andrews, I mentioned before, no outside spending on her at all. But in campaigns, she raised $7,707 and spent $7,072. So she raised and spent very, very little. She must have gotten beat really soundly by Josh Brecheen. Yeah, 72.4% of the vote. And Naomi Andrews got 23.4% of the vote. Really an amazing amount to get if you raise and spend only $7,700. Too bad she didn't get more money to spend. Maybe she would have gotten closer. Anyway, litmus test. Here's the litmus test. Small individual contributions for Harry Brecheen, only $35,474, 5.45% of what he raised. I'm sorry, he's not Harry Brecheen. That's the baseball player. He is Josh Brecheen. I keep thinking. stuck on that. Large individual contributions of $478,097. That was 73.49%. PAC contributions, $140,272. That was 22% of what was spent. So clearly he fails the litmus test rather miserably. Okay, Naomi Andrews, she got 53.36% of what she raised, $4,113 from small contributions and $3,594 from large individual contributions. I don't think the litmus test can be seriously applied to her because she raised too little money across the board. Let's see what interests were supporting Harry Brecheen. Let's look at PACs. He got 59,522 from business PACs, but 79,000 from ideological PACs, and none, from labor PACs. And they don't have any data on Andrews, Naomi Andrews, or Bulldog Ben Robertson, who was the independent candidate in the race. Bulldog Ben, that's a kind of colorful, I guess. Sectors. Let's see what the sectors say. The fire sector gave 72,280 to Josh Brecheen. Ideological single issue sector, 127,000. Those were his big sources of money. He had 99,876 coming from other sources that are not broken down here. So if we look a little more, look past the sector totals, look into industries. Josh Brecheen got 86,000 from retired, 60,000 from Republican conservative sources, 46,500 from leadership PACs. Nothing much big apart from those. Where the fascination is here, if there is any fascination, comes from the outside spending. We'll take a closer look at that in just a minute. So Josh Brecheen got 33,650 from the House Freedom Fund. That was his biggest supporter in the contributor tab. Let's look at the outside spending. That's the really interesting part of this race. Some carry committees and super PACs decided to get involved. We saw the figures before. A lot of spending for Josh Brecheen and Avery Fricks, both of whom were Republican candidates, both for and against those candidates. Outside groups spending money. There were no Democratic outside groups spending money on this. It was just amazing. It was Republican groups fighting each other with outside spending. The American Jobs and Growth PAC gave 800 and supported somebody or maybe more than one person, with $888,500, or maybe partly supported, partly opposed. I can't tell based on this. That was big. Fund for a Working Congress, a super PAC. By the way, American Jobs and Growth PAC is also a super PAC. $2.48 million from Fund for a Working Congress. I don't know where it went, on whose behalf. $3.463 million was spent in either support or opposition to somebody. That was from the School Freedom Fund. So huge monies coming from the support from the School Freedom Fund and coming from the Fund for a Working Congress, two super PACs. Between the two of them, they spent almost $6 million in super PAC money fighting one another in this campaign. Oh, and the American Jobs and Growth PAC. So, did I say $6 million? More like $7 million was spent by those three super PACs. God, it's weird the way super PACs get involved here. It is definitely weird. So, I guess Josh Brecheen and Avery Fricks had quite a contest in the primary. This didn't show up in the general, where Josh Brecheen won handily. We've seen.
Okay. I just want to interrupt and tell you that Steve Wolfbrand's here.
Okay. So I'll take a little time out then. We're through three of the candidates already, and it's 9:39, so I will take a little time to tell the story. Hang on a second. Let me pull up the next candidate, though, who was Clay Higgins from Louisiana, 3rd. Let me pull him up, and then I'll tell the story. Well, I guess I'm going to have to. I can't pull him up by name, but I know he's Louisiana. And I know he was in the 3rd district. Let me just double check. He's from the Louisiana 3rd. Yes, I got that right. So I'll just click on Louisiana 3rd here, and I'll be able to bring him up. Okay, before I get into Clay Higgins, then, I will tell my short story. What I was doing in Thailand. I was in Thailand in 1969. The United States at that time was heavily involved in a counter-insurgency operation. And the company I worked for, which was Cornell Aeronautical Laboratory, which later became Calspan Incorporated, was doing work for DARPA at that time. They had a multi-million-dollar contract, $4 or $5 million, which at the time was a lot of money. I remember this was back in 1969, when a decent contract was like $60,000 or something like that. Okay. Anyway, okay, the political situation on the contract side had changed in Thailand. They got a new head of the whole project over on the DARPA side, who came in to supervise the whole project. In other words, he was the contract monitor, okay, on the whole project. And he was a psychologist. And he noted that in this counterinsurgency effort, in which we were supporting the Thai government, he noted that there were very few social scientists involved. In fact, there was only one social scientist involved, and he was an anthropologist, and his name was Howard Friedman. Very nice guy. But anyway, so Cornell Aeronautical Laboratory, or CalSpan, I'm not sure what it was called at that time because it sort of changed its name in and around there due to other pressures. I won't go into that part of the story. But anyway, the psychologist gave orders to the Cornell project manager that he needed to hire some social scientists onto the project because this was, after all, a counterinsurgency. And what was fueling the counterinsurgency were various social science factors. And our contract people needed to have more knowledge of the social sciencey aspect of it. So they had hired me at Cornell Aeronautical Lab, which I'll refer to as CAL from now on. They hired me to do peace research. First, they hired a psychologist to do peace research, and he hired me to do peace research. And then a couple of other people were brought in, social scientists, to do peace research. And finally, I got a friend of mine in on the project also, who came from Hawaii, okay, the university out there, to do peace research. Unfortunately, the peace research money that was being carried out on the basis of overhead and on the basis of one contract that I got from the Air Force dealing with intentions analysis, intentions of nations. That contract had expired, and they were looking for other contracts supporting us on overhead, and we failed to bring in other contracts at that time to support us. So the head of our division, the systems division at Cal, said to my department, we have to get one of our social scientists over there. And we had three who could have gone, including myself, but they wanted me because I'm a political scientist and have good background in international relations and also in psychology and those things. And so they wanted me over there. I had a problem. They proposed that I go over with my family for 6 months to aid them on this contract. But I could not do that because my son had been born. This was back in 1969. A few months before, well, about a month before they wanted me to go over. And he was very premature, like 3.3 ounces. And then he lost a little weight before he started to gain weight. There was no way I was taking my wife and my little preemie son over to Thailand. So I negotiated with them. I negotiated with the head of the systems division, and I'm just a low-level research political scientist within the operations research department, you understand. So what I did is I negotiated with him, and the end of the negotiation was that I agreed to go over there by myself for 3 weeks, do some research, and write a report. And that would be my obligation. So I did go over to Thailand. I stayed in Bangkok for almost the whole time I was there, except I went up country once to see some statues in a place known, as Ayutthaya. It's kind of a city with lots of Buddhist statues in it. And on that trip, I took that trip as soon as I came to Thailand, and I drove back, a day or two later. And that's where I caught my dysentery. We stopped at a roadside stand and got something to eat. And of course, the water there is very unhealthy for Americans. And there was some liquid used in the whole process, I guess. And I got dysentery, which I had for the whole time I was there. So there was that. Okay. So then I came back to Bangkok, and I stayed in Bangkok for the whole rest of my time there. I didn't stay in the bars that much, but everybody talked about how all the contractors from the United States were basically staying in the bars because the Thai government didn't want any white faces out in the countryside, because that was going to fuel the two insurgencies that were going on there at the same time. In fact, there may have been more than two. There may have been three. There was one, as I recall, that was close to Laos. It was an overflow of the insurgency. In Laos, there was one in the south, in the Phuket area. I'm not sure what was fueling that. And there was one, I think, in the north, to the west of Chiang Mai. I'm not sure what that was about. But anyway, I learned that Chiang Mai was a very beautiful city that I never got to see while I was there. But I did my job. I wrote my report, which basically said, we can't really do anything here because we can't even get out into the countryside to study the situation because the Thais won't let us out. And I did some theoretical work also on the causes of insurgencies and what you had to do to oppose them. And I wrote that in my report, as well. Then I went back to the United States, a 37-hour flight, where my dysentery was controlled by Lomatil pills. Then when I got back, I was up for 37 hours. I got almost no rest on the way back. So all I could do when I came back was go to sleep, which disappointed Bonnie greatly, of course, at the time. But she was happy to have me home. So that is more or less my Thailand story. From my standpoint, the whole contract to Cal was a boondoggle, at that time. There were a lot of other contractors there, some of whom had larger contracts than Cal had. They were making money off the insurgency, but they were doing very little to help the Thai government to oppose the three insurgencies. And the Thai government was very wise to keep us out of the countryside because, well, what Thailand is about, and after I say this, I'm going to go back to the main topic. What Thailand is about, and it's probably still about that today, is that there was a major group, the Bangkok Thai, who comprised most of the population, maybe 80 or 80% of the population. And then there were fringe groups in the other areas whose background from an ethnic point of view was different. The group around the ocean border was similar in culture to the groups on the other side of the ocean border. So they were very subject to what was basically a communist insurgency from Laos, though have to emphasize communism in Laos was much different from communism in other places. But of course, we were very concerned about this communist insurgency, which was an overflow from the Vietnam fight, which was going on at the same time. The insurgency around the Chiang Mai area involved a completely different ethnic group, and the one in the Phuket area, another completely different ethnic group, which the Thais controlled as basically because the Bangkok Thai had an empire-like relationship with these ethnic groups. They were culturally different. The Bangkok Thai were the center of the empire, and they dominated the fringe groups over a period of time. And that's what it was about there. That's what the conflicts were about. There was nothing else involved except for the domination of the Bangkok Thai, the domination they had and kept over these other groups over a period of time. Eventually, the Bangkok Thai, without a great deal of material help from the United States and all the contractors, simply repressed the insurgencies in various areas. The Bangkok Thai were very smart about doing that over a period of time. And of course, due to the contracting, they received a considerable amount of monetary support from the United States, and that is what they were looking for, and that is what they got. So that was my experience. In Thailand. Oh, the last part of the story. By negotiating only 3 months, playing such hardball with the head of the systems division, thereafter, at the first opportunity, when things got a little thin, he decided that I would be the first social scientist, to be laid off. So about a year and a half later, I was laid off. And thereupon, I went to Boston, spent a nice period of 7 or 8 months in the Boston area, though I don't think it was so nice for Bonnie because it was raining all the time there.
Yeah.
Jonathan was still very young, and it wasn't as much fun for her. But I was doing most of my research at the Lemberg the Lemberg Center for Civil Violence at Brandeis, and so my life there was very pleasant for me, not nearly as pleasant for Bonnie. But after that period of time there came a new job offer from SUNY Binghamton, and so we left for Binghamton that fall. We took the job in January, at the Lemberg Center, and I got a new job over the summer. And I went to teach and do research at SUNY Binghamton, at that time. I can tell more stories about that, but that ends that particular story. So basically, I learned a lesson. If you negotiate too hard with the higher ups, you may win that negotiation, but you will be inconvenienced down the road when they lay you off the first chance they get. So I learned that particular lesson. That's the Thailand story, Steve Wolfbrand. I hope you enjoy it. So now back to business, specifically the fourth of our candidates, the three original candidates, specifically Bob Good, Harry Brecheen, and Randy Weber, all failed the litmus test. Okay, as usual, they all bit the dust. So we are now at Clay Higgins, who had 15 minutes of fame the other day when he pushed around someone who was attending, I think he was attending, the announcement of Medicare for All stuff, and somehow got in the way of Clay Higgins, who was trying to get into the Capitol. So Clay Higgins, who was sort of a husky guy in his 50s, okay, and he was basically facing a young man who must have been in his early 20s and was very thin. And he was trying to push him around and push him off the curb. And after, maybe half a minute of trying, he was surrounded by people with cell phones taking videos of what he was doing to the little kid. So he stopped, but he didn't look good doing it. It wasn't something that looked good. Anyway, he's one of the Freedom Caucus members. And here's his summary data. It's Clay Higgins, Republican incumbent. He was the winner. He raised $1,036,264, spent $1,080,510.
Have it on the screen.
Thank you very much for reminding me, because I had forgotten. I was so busy into just doing this that I had forgotten. So there we are. I've got it now, right? So Clay Higgins raised $1,036,264, spent $1,080,510, had cash on hand of $27,517, and he was opposed by another Republican by the name of Holden Hogatt, Hogggatt. Holden raised $207,174, spent $200,873, emerged from the race with $6,301, and also by a Democrat by the name, whose name is Tia LeBrun, and she raised close to $39,000, spent $37,500, emerged with $1,340. Another Democrat by the name of Dustin Granger, who raised $38,053, spent $40,560, ended with $0. And yet another Republican by the name of Lane Payne, that rhymes, right? Lane Payne, $17,860, spent $17,293, emerged with $667. There were yet other candidates in this race, Democrats, the Libertarian. There was another Republican and an independent. I won't even mention their names. There was little outside spending in this race in contrast to the other race we just went over, the Josh Brecheen race, where for some reason outside groups descended on that race and spent like $7 million. In this one, there was 82-27 in support of Clay Higgins, 56,794 in outside spending against him. So he had roughly a loss of $48,000, a net loss of $48,000, the support versus the opposition outside spending, from which I infer that he's probably not a very popular candidate, but he is in a very red district. Now let's look at the candidates tab. In the candidates tab, Clay Higgins got 64.3% of the vote. Clay Higgins, I should say. And Holden Huggett, his Republican opponent, got 10.9% of the vote. What were two Republicans doing? Tia LeBrun got 9.4% of the vote. I think this is a weird election system they have in Louisiana, where they probably have a race and they have a runoff afterwards. So Tia LeBrun got 9.5% of the vote, but they don't always have a runoff. Because if someone gets 50%, then they don't have a runoff. So that's probably what happened in this race. And Dustin Granger, they don't give his percentage, which means he didn't get anything worth talking about. So the people who did get votes worth talking about were Tia LeBrun with 9.5% of the vote, 9.4% of the vote, Holden Hoggett with 10.9% of the vote, and of course the winner, who was Clay Higgins with 64.3% of the vote. So Clay Higgins won easily. Let's find out who was supporting him. We saw the outside spending. It was quite small. Let's look at the PACs tab. Okay, the PACs tab shows that he raised $112,550 from business PACs and $116,650 from ideological PACs in that race. They don't give any PAC category data for any of the other candidates that we mentioned, okay, who were in the race. They only give that data for our friend Clay Higgins. With friends like him, who needs enemies, right? Anyway, in the sector totals, we see Clay Higgins got 51,000 from agribusiness, 38,000 from construction, 50,000 from energy, national resources, 58,000 from the fire sector, 65,000 from the health sector. So it was kind of spread out among a number of different sectors, but he got 166,340 from ideology, single issue, from that sector. So that's where the money came from. We can learn a little bit more about that looking at the industries, I'll bet. From leadership PACs, he got 66,400. I guess that's why he felt it was okay to push the kid around on the street. From Republican conservative sources, he got 59,110. I don't know if there's anything else worth mentioning. He got 10,000 from pro-Israel, which isn't a lot in this case, of course. Candidate committees sent him 19,000. That was nice of them. And he did do well from health. From health services, HMOs, he's got 31,000. Health professionals, he got 27,000. So between the two, he got about 58,000. From real estate, 21,000. Oil and gas, 46,500. In Louisiana, that's important. Oil and gas. Leadership PAC, 66,400. I think I said that already. Okay. So, I don't think I really did the litmus test yet, so I should do that. Small individual contributions, $174,296, 16.82%. This is for Clay Higgins. Large individual contributions, $559,789, 54.02%. That's a typical pattern. That's from people who gave more than $200, well-off people. PAC contributions, $223,950, 22%. We saw the PACs that actually came from. So we know the two categories, large individual contributions and PAC contributions, mean that he fails, the litmus test. So that covers him. That's our fourth candidate. They all have failed it, of course. They all have bitten the dust. What did I do? I think I did the wrong thing here. Okay, the remaining candidate is Debbie Lesko from the Arizona 8th District.
Okay, you need to put it on the screen.
Yeah, I know. I don't have it yet. Okay, I have to get it because I closed the tab. I should not have closed. But thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome.
It is most important that you continue to remind me. Okay. Because as you know, I frequently forget. So, let me pull up Debbie Lesko. Well, at least we could easily find her. Arizona District 8. She's actually been around for a while. A couple of terms anyway. Another Freedom Caucus member. So, we have a summary page now. Let me share it. Oh, wait, it's not right there. Let me get it right there. Okay. I'm on the point of presenting it. I've got Arizona 8 open secrets. Summary data. Okay, Debbie Lesko, uncontested, evidently, raised $1.19 million approximately. Spent $874,861. Ended with cash on hand of $1,002,735 that she's got for future races. She was the incumbent in this race. She was the winner of this race. There was outside spending in support of Debbie Lesko to the tune of $60,547. There was no outside spending in opposition to her, so she netted $60,547 in terms of support. Her candidates page shows that, of course, she won big. She wasn't opposed. She won 100% of the vote. So, very red district. She's, I think, an invulnerable Freedom Caucus member here. So, she can be as much of an idiot as she wants to be. And that explains, I think, her membership in the Freedom Caucus. She got 21% in small individual contributions, $249,422. Large individual contributions from well-off and rich people, $451,734. That was 38% of what she got. She raised almost as much from PACs, $417,645. that's 35%. So we see she cleanly fails the litmus test based on those two criteria. There was another 70,000 in the other category. We don't know, of course, where that comes from or what it's about. But she clearly fails the litmus test. Also, there's no one else to fail it here, because even though there was a guy by the name of Michael Muscato who ran in this race, but there was evidently no data on him because they don't report any data on him. Let's look at the PACs for Debbie Lesko. She raised $124,970 from ideological PACs. Surprisingly, $11,000 from labor. She got $297,435 from business PACs. So, right-wing Republican, well supported by business and the ideological PACs. Looking at the sectors, $86,300 from energy and natural resources in Arizona. From the fire sector, $99,246. From the health sector, $106,290. $78,000 for miscellaneous business. $228,271, a big chunk of what she raised, from ideology single issue groups. So financially, being a member of the Freedom Caucus pays for her. She got some very hefty contributions from those particular sectors. Let's look briefly at industries. From the retired sector, $139,905, the retired industry. From the Republican conservative industry, $66,603. From leadership PAC, $63,900. I'm not going to go through all these things, but let's see if there's anything else substantial here. I guess nothing really substantial. Contributions, in the 30,000s and 32,000, stuff like that. But it's clear that she's dominated by the ideological forces, that's where a very big chunk of her money comes from, as well as from traditional Republican quarters. Looking at her top contributors, the House Freedom Fund, which is, of course, the fund of the Freedom Caucus, $33,700. $32,000 from AIPAC. A lot of $10,000 contributions from all manner of places. So that's the story. Her sources are very well distributed. They're all Republican sources, I think. And she did very well in relation to those sources. So, because of her large individual contributions and her PAC contributions, she failed the litmus test also. So all 5 individuals tonight from the Freedom Caucus failed the litmus test. Freedom Caucus members, some of them raise a fortune. These tonight did not raise very much. They were like in the $1 million category or less. they were mostly running in highly red districts. There were no real contests that we observed among the five tonight. They're just winning in red districts where they can pretty well be as extreme as they want to be. So I think that's the story for tonight. We got some comments. Briefly, Kay says no GOP will pass the test. I don't think so either. There were actually very few comments here. So we got a comment from Steve Wolfbrand, 933, saying shared. Thank you, Steve. Okay, Dee, any comments on what happened here tonight?
I don't know. It just seems to be a rerun every week.
Yeah, it seems to be a rerun every week of where they're getting their money from. They're getting it from the PACs. They're getting it from large individual contributions. Hardly anybody gets it from small individual contributions. But people who are really far right have a small individual base of financial support. That was true for Lauren Boebert. It was true for Jim Jordan. It was true for Marjorie Taylor Greene. So some of the big name people in the Freedom Caucus do raise a lot of individual donations, just as what happens with some of the progressives. They raise large numbers of individual donations too. But everybody seems to raise huge dollars from that category of donors between $200 and whatever the high end is. Those well off and rich people are the ones who, along with the PACs and the super PACs, are funding these campaigns. Of course, the super PACs don't directly fund these campaigns, they indirectly fund them, but they can be devastating in certain situations. They just throw huge amounts of money into these races, as we've seen. So now we've gone through 15 of the Freedom Caucus members. We have only 10 more left. So next week we should be able to finish them off on Wednesday and Friday of next week if all goes according to plan.
Mm-hmm.
So by the end of next week, we will stop examining the individual records. We will be more or less satisfied with our conclusions about what's happening here in the fundraising. And then we will decide how we're going to pursue giving dump the corruption information to people who watch our shows. I think we may be going deeply into many candidates who seem to be particularly prominent, examining their finances, but also their platforms and their issues, okay, and things like that. But for tonight, we are done, and we're going to say goodnight.
Yes. Good night, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Dee,
Oh, thank you.
for basically co-hosting once again.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I will see you soon.
Yes, you will.
Huh? Oh yes. Please buy me a coffee if you can afford it, and visit my Patreon account. The data for both of those are on your screen or flashing across the bottom of your screen. So again, thank you very much for coming, and we'll see you all soon.
Yes, you will.
And
Good night, everybody. Good night, Bonnie.
Good night, Bonnie.